Hey everyone, look who I found.
Hi.
I'm here with Jenn today, and so this is actually not going to be a Surviving Together episode. This is Surviving Together with Between the Cracks. So we are actually going to be doing the show together, and it is Surviving the Cracks. So we'll be doing some shows from time to time. I'll be on her, she'll be on mine, and whenever we're together, it'll be Surviving the Cracks. Whether we eventually have a whole new channel will depend on how successful this is, how much you guys like it. But we thought that this would be an interesting format for us to do since we were together here.
Can I ask? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I ask you all how we sound? And Dana, I love you so much. Thank you for breakfast. Everybody, Davey bought and had breakfast delivered to us this morning, and it was so incredibly beautiful and kind, and we appreciate you so much.
For all of you who don't know, our friend of the boat and of Need a Meeting, Steve Molesky, passed at about 1:15 this morning. It was very peaceful. He was surrounded by his family. We got to say goodbye yesterday afternoon, and he's not hurting anymore, and he's in a much better place. And I know surviving the meeting.
I understand. You sound a little far away. Wow, I'm glowing. If you could give us a second, I'm going to try to plug my microphone into her computer and see if, give us 1 minute. We're going to go off of camera. Don't go anywhere, please. Okay, can you hear us better now? Hi, Mickey. 5 by 5. All right, Janet, thank you.
Perfect.
You want to scoot up?
Better. Okay.
And I can scoot down.
Okay.
There we go.
There we go.
All right, we're just we're doing this kind of by the seat of our pants, so bear with us during this first episode of Surviving the Cracks.
Yep, together we were trying to find some place that we both could be, not with light, but she has so much natural light in her place, which is awesome because like I have zero. There you go. Now you just got to shout. You look at my Aunt Tracy from back there.
You can't tell, but this is a blue and white. This is a blue and white sweatshirt, and it looks like clouds, and I'm wearing it in honor of Steve today. But I just look like I'm a bright, glowing light, which I guess, and what I've been told, I am. So there you go.
So we wanted to say hi to everybody.
2 for the price of 1.
So
Hey, Todd.
Sandy, hi. Janet, hi. Diane, hello. Todd, welcome.
Steve.
Yep.
Davey, obviously, we know you're here.
Wonderful,
Kristen,
wonderful.
love
Oh,
you.
hey, Kristen, how you doing?
Looking like I'm lit from within. Well, I am. I am, because I'll share a little story with you all. Maybe.
We've got Tree and Kisses with us.
Davey's boyfriend's here. Hi, Kiss Freak.
Let's see. And I think that's it for roll call. Awesome.
Love you guys. Thank you all so much for showing up.
We
Can we please highlight that?
Absolutely.
Just want you to know that we've got a little YouTube relationship happening here, everybody.
It's platonic emotional.
It's platonically emotional. It's kind of like me and Jeremy Shelton with less jokes. Okay, there we go. Oh, what did I do? Oh, that's good. That's fine.
She's having a little difficulty with my laptop.
Yeah, I am because I use a mouse and a keyboard and an extra screen and everything. She's just got the laptop like a regular person, and I have to be the one that's a little extra, or a lot of extra. Is that what you're gonna say?
No, I say I'm hiding the mouse in my bag.
The mouse right there.
No, but
she carries mice around in her backpack. Everybody, you
that's
hear
why
that?
that's why our cats like me.
She's baiting my cats with mice.
There you go.
Just a trigger warning: there will be crying,
more than likely, and from a number of sources. We
there will be laughing too because we keep slamming our chairs into each other.
Because we discovered we're like twins from another mother.
Don't get mad, Day.
No, you're the third. I told her she's the third leg on the triad.
We're triplets then.
Yeah, it's the third leg on the
Gypsy
triad.
Daisy, it's really good to see you.
But I was laughing so hard in the kitchen this morning because she actually, and there's going to be a little bit of swearing too, mind you, she actually has the same sign up above her sink that I do. And it says, fuck the dishes. I could not believe it. I was laughing so freaking hard.
And since we're here, I have to put on the between the cracks light.
Oh, there we go.
I mean, we have to have the flamingo, don't we?
And I match.
And you match.
That's just awesome. So Janet. Yeah, just a bunch of letters.
Yeah, just you know what? Yeah, exclamation point, ampersand, percentage.
Yeah,
asterisk, asterisk, asterisk.
There you go. That's how it went. Mine actually has a family-friendly side to it. On the other, I can turn it for when my parents come over, and it just says the dishes are looking dirty at me again. So,
and I don't care what my parents think of my sign.
Yeah, well, that lasted all for about 3 weeks until I forgot to change it, and they looked at me and went, "Nice sign," and I said, "Isn't it?"
Are those boobs? Could you be a little bit more specific? There's 4 boobs
Yeah,
right here. You can't see mine because I am shining from my heart.
Yeah, so
I think Steve's shining into my heart from the skylight because the bright light you're seeing is the skylight.
Those boobs, I'm a dude. Yes, there's 4 of them.
We know you're a dude.
Yeah, and we're both women, so yes.
Yep. Those are boobs.
Yep, all natural.
Everything.
Just a bunch of chicks. You always have a light shining, I guess.
Of course you do.
Yes.
You are a light, Day. I love you so much.
We cannot
even though you made me have to go to the Majid today to pick up our food that they thought was for them.
So by the time she got down there, they'd actually taken it inside.
Mm-hmm.
The food that got delivered from Davy to us didn't get delivered to the door here. It got delivered to the mosque next door. And so they get donations all the time. They just thought it was for them. So they had picked it up and they had taken it inside. And by the time Jenn got there, my coffee had been given away. But that was the only thing that was missing. So he tried to give her $100 for it, which is a really expensive coffee. So they settled on 5 after some haggling, I guess.
Let's talk to Todd for a minute. What's going on, buddy?
Bad day?
I can relate. We both can relate.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird thing. Yeah, it's Jenn's had a doubly rough day today.
I found out that one of my aunts passed in her sleep overnight as well. So I have lost 2 people I love today, and I have to take the disco ball down. That's right.
Pain, lots of pain. Do you mean physical pain or emotional pain?
Excuse my armpit.
No problem.
Not you. Stop. Okay.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been a hard one for Jenn.
We're gonna do ones for Todd too.
Yeah, Todd, do you mean physical pain or
are you having some emotional pain? Because we get the physical pain too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Physical. Okay.
Physical? Okay.
I'm with you, brother. All of my joints at this point, my shoulder, everything, every single one of my joints is aching. So
A lot of stress. A lot of
yeah,
stress inside.
yeah. I wonder, is the weather playing a part in your feeling bad? Thanks for the ones, everybody. I love you. Since you're the more professional of the two of us, you
want me to guide this a little bit? Okay, yeah.
I am professional, but I'm not today. I'm very
scattered.
Thinning veins go into my legs.
Oh, and it's
the rain.
raining.
Yep.
Yep.
It's been raining here a lot this week too. So we're sending you love, buddy. And I know it doesn't help with the physical, but at least you know that you have a support system.
Absolutely.
And that's the most important thing.
And I 100% get the rain thing. My sinuses are very, very sensitive to the weather, the pressure changes. In fact, I went to the chiro on Thursday and he just looked at me and went, wow, I can actually see your bones structure is like swollen. I was like, oh, great. That's why I have a headache. So yeah, we kind of tried to move some things around to give it some more. Would you like to trade rain for snow? Not your amount of snow, Janet. You're insane. I don't know what is going on in Canada, but you may keep that amount of snow.
Is there anybody in here who's near a hot beach? Because we'll gladly trade for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Too many brains in your head. Funny, we were talking about that, and I made a joke, which is also a movie quote, to Sharon earlier, and said, "You have such a big brain. My brain is so big. Sometimes I have to turn sideways just to get through a door."
Thank you, Megamind.
No, wrong movie. If anybody can name that movie,
I thought it was Megamind.
No, if anyone can name the movie that Cosmic, I was just messaging you. I am so sorry that you just now found out about Steve. I've been worried about everybody in Australia all day today.
You're near a beach and it's warm. Yeah, we would love to be over there.
I wish I would, I'd be there in a minute.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I was just messaging you, but now I'm going to put it down.
Yeah. So, Christy, just for you, I know that they will be doing a tribute for Steve and need a meeting. So we'll be wrapping things up by the time that they start, because I know that a lot of people here are going to want to see that. And they're going to, not sure what all they're going to be doing, but I think they've got some footage and things, some pictures that they want to share, since Steve used to be on there quite a bit before he was this year when he was hospitalized so much. He passed at about 1:15 early this morning, very peaceful, and his family was surrounded with him. And we got a chance to say goodbye to him in the afternoon, and then left him with his family for the rest of the evening. Some of Steve's family was able to make it in the evening. So he was able to say goodbye to everyone who really meant something to him. Well, I shouldn't say that. I was going to say that. I shouldn't say that.
That would fill the hospital.
Yes. The immediate family, I should say, of his family that he wanted to say goodbye to was there. And he was able to get a hold of his eldest son in the evening, which I know he had been definitely holding out for. So, so that it was as well of a passing as you could hope for.
It was under his control, and that was the best thing that we could wish for, was that he had final say in how things went down, and that we're incredibly grateful for. In the end, he was able to call his own shot, so he was in control till the end.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the update on Steve. And yes, much love to Vicky and the rest of the family. They're very, very loved. And we made sure to pass on everything from you guys. I know the live that Tommy did yesterday, I was actually watching it as they were doing some things with Steve, and he
I didn't watch it till later.
but we were able to send it to Vicky, and Vicky was able to play it for Steve. So for Steve, that was a final tribute to him, and he very much appreciated it and was grateful for everybody who had said prayers for him, who had wished for him, and for all his friends and family who he met through the lifeboat and through needing a meeting through the internet, people he never would have been able to connect with before. So it was real. It was a good of a day as it could have been.
Yeah.
So, well, on another note, we decided that since we were both here, that what is the name of the documentary?
The program.
Yes.
Okay. There's a documentary on Netflix. So I'm sure you've all heard me say it, but we're going to bring it up again. Rabbit actually covered it last night. I'm in contact with her. And it's called on Netflix. It's called The Program, Cons, Cults, and Kidnapping. It is about the Academy at Ivy Ridge, which is a WASPS program, and WASPS is WWASPS, and it stands for something that I won't say. But it's a name of a business, and it was all about this one man, Robert Litchfield. Dang it. Robert Litchfield. And I watched it Tuesday as a survivor of the troubled teen industry. I was up for 24 hours. It took me 16 hours to get through the 3 hours of the 3-part series.
And it's been number one on Netflix for I think the past 5 days, ever since it Rabbit covered it last night. We have only watched half of it. There's
Because I was getting upset at some of the I won't say misinformation, because she's not giving misinformation, just not necessarily full information. I love you too, Mickey.
Yeah, she hadn't done research on the troubled teen industry as a whole. She was just doing a reaction to this particular docu-series.
And her experience, to be fair, and her experience working at 3 RTCs. And RTC stands for Residential Treatment Programs. I love and respect Rabbit. I'm really excited that she's starting to go down the TTI rabbit hole, because one thing that I can definitely say is, since Tuesday, and Sharon can attest for this, my social media and my YouTube have blown up.
Yeah.
I did a post on Facebook and made it public, and people that were survivors and parents of survivors have reached out to me because they looked up Catherine, who made the documentary, and my post came up. People are paying attention, and it's huge. It is finally, after, I mean, if we want to go back to 1958, however many that years is, because I don't math. Not even if there's a fire. Name that movie.
So the troubled teen industry it's been around for a long, long time, and it's been a huge moneymaker. We're talking billions and billions of dollars. And in combining our different focuses, one of the things we're going to talk about today is sexual abuse within the troubled teen program. How does that happen? Where does it happen? How often does it happen? We're lacking on some statistics in regards to the troubled teen industry in specific, but I'll tell you, this morning I was listening to a few other lectures, and the number 1 in 8 came up. And what 1 in 8 represents is the number of people in the world who have been sexually assaulted in their lifetime.
And in the United States, 1 in 3 women have in some way been molested or sexually assaulted in their life. 1 in 6 men or boys, men and boys.
Yeah, I've seen the numbers anywhere from the 1 in 3 to 1 in 5 for women. It depends on what study you're looking
Right.
at, whether or not they were looking at just college campuses, whether they're looking at overall just children. There's a number of 1 in 4 for the children for women.
Todd, you win.
Okay. Janet has a question. And hold that question for just a second. 'Cause what we're going to do is I've asked Jen to at first give us kind of just the lowdown, a big overarching overview of what the troubled teen industry is, who is sent there, and we'll talk a little more specifics after this. But I think this will answer your question, Janet.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so everything started in 1958 with Synanon. And you know what? My brain is usually really on for this, but you know, stuff's happening.
It's been a day.
So it's been a day. So Synanon was created in 1958 by a guy called Charles Dietrich. Dietrich. He went by Chuck. He had no experience, no education, nothing, but he was an alcoholic. And he decided that he didn't necessarily like AA. He didn't think that it was strict enough. So he opened Synanon, and it started out as Tender Loving Care in 1958. Their first place was in Venice Beach, and then they bought an old armory in Santa Monica, and they became the first drug rehab, because he also wanted to include addicts who were, you know, addicted to drugs, not just alcohol, because especially back then AA was very.
Hey Izzy, hey
Hi, Izzy,
Misha.
honey. Hi, Misha. I mean, in a way they still do, but Alcoholics Anonymous, the reason NA exists is because AA is very culty. I'll say that. It can be very helpful. I'm not against the program. I would never speak down against the program. Anyways, Chuck Dietrich opened up this place, and he came up with something called the game. And what the game is meant to do is just completely destroy your spirit. Now, think of things that, and if anyone's ever been in the service, had a family member in the service, or heard about the service, think of like boot camp
This would be Todd.
on meth, right? So it is every single day you spend hours pointing out the worst things, or people point out to you the worst things, everything that you can't stand about yourself, or, you know, anyways, it's attack therapy is what they call it. And from there, they branched out, and somebody who had been at Synanon left Synanon, and he opened his own place called The Seed, like a seed that you plant. And that place happened, and then Chuck Dietrich got all weird, like butthurt about it, and he opened up CEDU, which is CEDU, and that was the first troubled teen RTC, residential treatment program.
And Todd, you're absolutely right. It was something that I was going to say. Boot camp is all about tearing you down and then
Yeah.
building you back
But
up
there's
again.
no building.
Unfortunately, the reality is there is no building back up again in TTI. Now, everything in the literature and all of their propaganda will tell you that, yes, this is exactly what happens. And this is how they're able to get, you know, parents on board and some teens on board who actually told about it ahead of time. Unfortunately, it's incredibly unfortunate, because the concept of being able to take somebody and give them 24-hour care in some sort of context, I mean, it's a valuable concept if it's done right. And I know there was one person in Rabbit's talk last night who was, I don't know if they were kind of offended or just wanted everyone to know that there are good programs out there, and we're certainly not saying that there aren't, okay? Not everything is going to fall under the TTI umbrella, but a lot of things do.
But it's a really, really big umbrella.
Yeah.
Ella, A.
Jen, how many TTI programs are there in the US total?
There are thousands, but the only state that I have specific data for is Utah. There are over 100 troubled teen industry programs covering all three, which are the boarding schools, treatment centers, and wilderness camps. Over 100. Now, Trails Carolina in North Carolina, there's 4 of them. There's 3 in North Carolina and 1 in South Carolina. They charge per child $66,000 for an 83-day program. Their staff is paid minimum wage, and the requirement for the job requirement is literally a GED.
GED.
Yeah, so it's thousands, but the most, the state with the most is Utah.
And yes, the government can be
The government's very involved.
Yes.
Someone asking about. Yeah,
Yes.
so the government doesn't. So okay, Sandy, to answer your question, the government pays, like, they subsidize these programs, and the parents pay the programs.
and yes,
That makes sense.
say and yes, teens can get sentenced there
Yes.
from courts. It depends on what type of programs they have in their areas as to what types of programs they're going to get sentenced to.
Court-ordered programs are more regulated, or are actually regulated. So, Janet, to answer your question now at the back end of this, yes, there are programs that are. I actually worked at one in my 20s, a group home for girls. It was a lockdown facility. Like Rabbit said, the doors weren't necessarily locked, but it wasn't like when I was in the hospital and you couldn't get even off your floor. You can get out, but so yes, there are court ordered ones, and those are the ones that are regulated. Those are the ones that the abuses don't necessarily happen in. I'm not going to say that abuses don't happen in across the board, and I'm not going to say that they happen at every one, because I haven't been to every program and spoken to every survivor. So all I can do is say what I know is that those court ordered ones are actually much better, because it's an alternative to going to juvie or jail. And in those cases, a lot of the kids have a higher likelihood of a better life afterwards than people like myself who are sent to these private programs.
Tree saying there's tons in Colorado and Pennsylvania.
Oh yeah, yep.
And you're right. Yes, schools can refer students. A lot of times the counselors will refer the students, but they'll talk to the parents. I mean, you have to have parental consent in order to just send, a private student, unless they're getting ordered by the court. There has to be parental consent or guardian consent. And it's the information that they're given. Now, we're not saying that all the schools are complicit. Only from the standpoint that nowadays, where there's so much information out there, if the counselors are still buying into the BS that's being sold to them by the schools, that's where I call that they are complicit in this. Before, in the 70s and the 80s, we didn't have the information network that we do now, right? So, and people weren't speaking out about it. The kids who came out of the programs.
We were frozen in fear of saying anything, because the few times, okay, when you're in the programs, they tell your parents anything that your children say or do is a manipulation and an excuse to get out, so they can go back out and use or start doing the bad behaviors that they were doing. So, and when we had phone calls, our phone calls were monitored. All of our written correspondence was monitored. There was, and so, and we knew that our parents were told not to believe anything that we said. So by the time we got out, nobody's listening to you. You're a useless waste of space. and you don't actually even realize that there's a giant industry, you tend to, I mean, like, like I said, I didn't find out till last January, and I'm talking 2023. Went to my first program in 1985. I didn't talk about it. Some of my friends knew this one sentence. I was sent to drug rehab when I was 14, but I didn't have a drug problem. That was all I knew how to verbalize to anybody, and my family never talked about it. So then I just shut it down. I locked the memories away, and that, talking to other survivors, that's been across. If you see on the program, and Hell Camp too on Netflix, by the way, that's about a wilderness program, another TTI program. You'll hear a lot of survivors say that they just felt so alone, and they got sick of explaining to people. So the fact that the program is out and it's so popular is a huge victory for us, but we're not done. This is just the beginning.
Is the tip of the iceberg. And, I think
it is the 80s all over again.
And Sandy, I think you make a good point. Some people say, well, I was never in the program. I haven't been affected by that. I feel for you, and I feel for you guys. I feel for the survivors, but kind of why should I care?
Because it's still happening.
Because it's still happening to kids, and you should just care about the kids. And B, care about where your taxpayer money goes, because it's not just state money. And I guarantee you, in your state, there probably is at least one of these programs where people are going court ordered. So then it is your taxpayer money directly. So if there's no other reason to care than monetarily for you, then make that be it.
And we've also had that we know of, okay, and this is just what we know of, we've had more than 350 deaths, either accidental, which is restraint, or unaliving, inside these programs, and we're really working hard so we don't have to bury another kid, because we just lost the 12-year-old at Trails, Carolina, back on February 3rd, 12 years old. He wasn't even there 16 hours yet, and he's gone. So it's really time sensitive that we get, and the momentum that we have right now is very exciting, but it's also it's very difficult for us survivors. It's a double-edged sword, if you will. Like, we're so grateful and excited to be heard, but we're choosing to be re-traumatized on purpose.
It can be very, very scary. I mean, there are a lot of, I think it's easier if you're just a sexual abuse survivor. And I say that from this angle. We've been talking about that for a while now. And there are so many other facets to the TTI program that talking about sexual abuse within it is only one aspect of this. There is also physical abuse, the mental abuse that they went through. I mean, we're talking the whole shebang. Yeah, and the mental, the psychological. You are totally breaking a person's spirit and body. Not to mention then also potentially violating in some instances. So these survivors, these TTI survivors, have a double, triply hard time in coming forward, because not only are they breaking their silence finally and doing something that they have either told themselves, they were told initially, and then they've been telling themselves for years, don't say anything, no one's going to believe you. And now that I'm choosing to go through this, I'm choosing to be re-traumatized because I'm having to face this for the first time ever. And a lot of these people are from the older generations who did go through this in the, let's say, 1980 to 1995 era.
The average person needs to see what is happening. Screws up our kids, our culture, our economy, our quality of life. Sandy, 100%. Let me show the second part of this.
And hopefully,
I can answer. I can speak to that, but go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, hopefully something as popular as this Netflix series, something that's getting the word out on a major platform, is going to energize this. You know, there has been some a lot of advocacy work behind the scenes. Small group, you don't hear about them as much. That's the biggest one, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. A group called Unsilence and Advocacy Organizations. They're one of the bigger ones, and then Breaking the Code of Silence.
Breaking Code Silence.
Breaking Code Silence is the other one. They've been working tirelessly. But having something like this come out on the stage, the world stage, and putting a spotlight on this and saying, look at this. Yeah, this is just one school. Now imagine if they did that documentary on every school in the US.
Be a long documentary.
Yeah. They could keep doing this piece
It
episodes.
could go on as long as Law and Order's been on the air, okay? Just to give perspective.
Yeah. So hopefully, if you can, if the people within the TTI organization and people who want to help this movement go forward, latch on to this and, you know, take it as far as people started to with just sexual abuse when we started talking about it in the 90s, and really digging our heels in and saying, this is unacceptable. We're not going to take this anymore. 1 in 4 women on a college campus should not be subject to sexual assault. So what did they do? They started programs in place. They started the cabs. They
Take
started
back the night.
exactly all of that, and it stemmed
Walking at least with some. I don't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Walking at least with somebody. Never walking alone. Stuff like that.
right, and people teaching their children, especially some of the people teaching their male children, be aware when you're at a party, when you're at a big party, be aware of some of the women there. You know, if somebody's being kind of drug off somewhere and they're obviously not within their faculties, maybe step in and say something. Be like, hey, you know, or, you know, if you go with a friend, keep track of that friend and make sure that friend goes home with you, is not just lost and you just don't go off with somebody else. It's important to be watching out for your fellow person. And so that does go for male and females, but specifically in speaking to the male children about this, it's drilling into them as well. It's unacceptable. And so they have then been talking to their friends about it and saying, dude, this is unacceptable. You should have said something when you saw whatever. And the Gen Zs, especially now, are very much on this.
Yeah, they are.
And our hope is in another 20 years, as long as this momentum keeps going with TTI, that's the sort of thing that we could see with that, meaning shut down, regulations put in place for the ones that still stay open, and then these places actually helping kids, actually being a place where kids can be built up. They don't have to be broken down like they do in the boot camps. They need to be built up. Their bad behavior and their bad coping skills needs to be broken apart. But that's something that can be dealt with in a positive manner and then given the coping skills to be able to deal with things. These survivors were left with none of that.
And I definitely think that if we paid more attention to the word therapeutic in all of these programs and in the entire industry, then the kids would have a better chance. I wanted to
I was just going to ask you to do that.
I highlighted this comment for a reason from Tree Hugging Buddhist. And it's 100% true that they're lucky if they black out the memories, because I did it. I started at 14. I was in programs until I was 17. And I didn't start getting my memories from this time back until last year. And this is something that I've been wrestling with for 14 months now. And I'm very grateful to say that in the last 3 months, I have been in intensive trauma therapy. So that's another way that we can heal.
And so, yeah, going back to the question that Sandy asked, how do people going through this heal from this kind of trauma where you are broken down in literally every way possible? And so I can speak to the sexual aspect of it, but I'm going to turn over to Jen and how, and with her therapy, what have they suggested to you in terms of dealing with the psychological aspects of things?
So a lot of my therapist is amazing, but she is still learning about the troubled teen industry and learning about it because of me and probably future clients. Um, how we go about healing this trauma.
Hold on.
Whatever.
Todd, I hope you feel better. All right. Keep us posted. We'll talk to you later.
Oh
He's
yeah,
just
get
go- he's
yeah,
gonna
go
lay
lay
down.
down, get some rest, feel better.
Okay. Sorry about this week.
No, don't worry about it. I actually do want to speak to the sexual abuse and manipulation in the troubled teen industry. The program does touch on this as well. There was an administrator, um, not really an administrator, but one of the leaders of the place, female manipulated and sexually manipulated and abused. We don't know how many girls that went through that program. I can tell you that Trails Carolina has 2 lawsuits that I know of right now, 3 survivors that I've heard of by girls in the program that have been sexually assaulted but in that program it was by an older camper, also female, if I'm remembering correctly. We don't have a lot of stats on the boys, which is very troubling.
Because we know that it happened and we know that it also happened frequently.
Yes, and so it's one of the things that we're advocating for. Most of the survivors that are speaking out right now are female, but we do have men that are coming forward now. I believe it's probably a little bit harder for them.
Take care, Izzy.
See you later, Izzy. Love you. There are 2 books out so far that I would like to recommend to readers. We've got Help at Any Cost is the name of the first book, and oops. At Any Cost, and the author's name is Maia Szalavitz, Szalavitz. That is an overview of that is Help at Any Cost is a nonfiction book analyzing the controversy surrounding the troubled teen industry. The book was published in 2006. She focuses on 4 programs: Straight Inc., which is the first, let's just call Straight Inc. the first Walmart of troubled teen industry programs. She gets into attack therapy and WASPs. She focuses on them, and then North Star Wilderness Boot Camp. And there's another book called I See You Survivor by an author called Lisa Ianelli, and her book is a personal story. And Liz went to a religious-based treatment program, and that's another thing, another aspect to the troubled teen industry is the pie in the chart, or the pie in the circle that is the religious programs, which is what the program technically was. That the academy at Ivy Ridge was technically a religious program. It's what they're based on, probably to get tax exempt status.
More than likely.
But yes, religious, and that's why I'm personally going after Scientology and what they're calling now their Delphian academies. They've gone through different names, and also Narcanon, because they do residential treatment for youths as well, and they use the game. Actually, Scientology is kind of partly based on the game because L. Ron Hubbard looked up to Chuck Dietrich in a lot of ways, which doesn't make sense to me because that guy was really stupid.
We're not saying that either one of them were bright.
No.
So that kind of gives you a little bit of an idea as to the troubled teen industry, but to give you some more specifics, who for you that don't maybe understand what we're talking about, and you'll see some specifics if you watch the program in regards to the things that went on at Ivy Ridge. But Jenn, can you speak to either your knowledge from your own personal experience or from other survivors who you knew who went to like other locations? What are some of the things that they would have you do that kind of broke you down psychologically? I know one of those was the hand thing we were talking about.
Oh, the hands up, hands down, hands together, hands apart, hands up, hands down, hands together, hands apart for 8 hours straight, sitting straight up in a chair. Another thing is the circle that we had talked about was just sitting in a circle. Also, when you arrive at any program, well, okay, I can't say that. When you arrive at a residential treatment center, you are strip searched and cavity searched. So I'm gonna go ahead and just call that for me what it was, which was a sexual violation.
If you don't
So-
feel like that's partly that you're entering a prison, I don't know what type of welcome is going to tell you that.
Right, and when you think you're going to like a resort type of boarding program so that you can get away from the problems at each of your parents' house, and you end up at a hospital in the middle of a city, with every floor is a different group of teenagers with a different group of problems, and you're locked in that. And I can say that I have been to prisons, but only to visit people. I've never been incarcerated in a prison, but that was on within the first 15 minutes after they sent my dad away. To have that humiliation happen to me was violating.
Now, were you allowed to speak to your parents and give them a call and say, hey, this is not what we thought it was?
No, you have to earn the right to speak to your parents. In my residential treatment programs, the first one at least, you start in it. It really, wow, it really is a lot like prison now that I think about it. You have an evaluation unit, like in prisons. In the the state prison systems, I know the federal does as well, but I'm more versed in the state prison systems. Everybody who's sentenced to prison goes to what they call reception, which is 30 days of like kind of acclimating, doing health stuff, whatever.
They have that in the federal system as well.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just not as well versed on it.
Just letting you know.
I know. This is why I keep her around. She's got the brains. We both do.
Yeah.
But just with the words coming out of my mouth and realizing I'm dropped off in this building. I'm in a hospital gown and the no slippy socks. And I've already been violated. I've had everything taken away from me. I'm not allowed to contact anybody while I'm in the evaluation unit. And all you do is groups all day where they just beat you down and beat you down and beat you down and beat you down to get you ready for your unit.
Now, beating you down, are you taking they're punching you, or what are they doing?
No, they're verbally assaulting you. So they're psychologically and mentally attacking you and getting you to stop fighting, which we've all been teenagers, right? Getting us to stop fighting, and especially when we end up somewhere that we weren't expecting. It's another aspect of the troubled teen industry that I didn't experience myself. The main form of transportation to a troubled teen industry program is through a transport company of something that on the inside we call goons. And these goons go to the homes with the parents' permission after the parents have signed over guardianship to strangers for their child. And these people take them out of bed in the middle of the night and they kidnap them. This is child trafficking. They kidnap them, they take them out of state, and they take them to a program. Those kids have no idea where they're going. Of course, they're going to freak out when they get there.
Weren't some also taken from school?
Some kids do now get, in the last 20 years, have started to be taken out of school because of since the implementation of the IEPs and the educational consultants, they set it up where the parents don't have to have any repercussions of having to face their children as they're throwing them in a dumpster.
I wanted to go back to a comment. Miss D, were you in the troubled teen program? Do you see that?
I see that. Is there another comment?
No, it was just that one.
Okay.
Just curious as to whether you were just referring to, to the essays, to speaking up about that, or as to whether you were in the TTI program. Why isn't it illegal? I'll go out I'll go on the big picture as Jen's going. This money, is a huge one, but silence, it not being known, all of these abuses, things not.
Dang it. Yeah.
There you go.
See that, everybody? I keep this around to remind me that I was forced to be silent until I was 52 years old.
When you have a whole industry that is based on really secrecy as to what goes on within those walls, and you have so terrified the individuals who go there into silence, you're not no one's going to know for it to be illegal. No, okay. No one's going to know for it to be illegal. The thing we also need to be asking is, why aren't these regulated?
I have something to add to that.
Yes.
Bain Capital out of Utah. Look it up.
They're a huge venture capitalist company.
They also happen to be Mitt Romney's biggest sweating political donors. There are in every state, and I'm going to make a list, and I will I have a series coming up this week about the history of the troubled teen industry. And we're going to cover finances. We're going to cover complicit politicians. We're going to cover active politicians like Mitt Romney. And it's hard for me to say that about Mitt Romney. Being in Michigan, Romney family it was a good family name. But what he's done, it could be religious based. I don't know. I don't want to talk smack about him as a person, but it's very troubling to me that he makes so much money off of the backs of other children. Oh, I know. Okay. Today the troubled teen industry brings in $24 billion a year.
A year, guys. Remember at the very beginning, I said that this is a billions and billions and billions of dollar industry. Now, can you imagine? From 1958, this has started. Now, granted, there was a ramp up period there, I'm sure, but let's just say let's just say from 1980 on, how much money do you think totally that this industry has been brought in? We're talking trillions upon trillions of dollars.
So I think that I have a feeling the more digging we do, that we're going to find out that there's probably a lobby that we're unaware of, and they're just hiding it under an umbrella of something else. But I have a feeling that there is a lobby that is keeping Congress and state houses around the country complicit and silent, even though we do have people on the state level and the federal level that are fighting, but they're in the minority and nobody else wants to talk about it. And there has to be another reason besides, oh, but this is happening over here. No, I don't buy it. They know, and they're complicit at the very least.
Hey, Stasia.
Hi, Stasia.
So glad you're here with us. Feel free to lurk. Jen says, makes me wonder what percentage of adults in prison went through these programs. Yeah,
I'll write that on my list actually
And-
to look up.
and someone else had said, oh, it was Janet. You've had some great comments tonight. You also said, I bet these teens come out believing that what they're told about themselves. Well, yeah,
Oh, yes, we did.
a lot of them go in thinking parts of the same things. They're being told these things by their parents. They're being
Yes.
told these things by the school counselor. They're the principal. They're being told these things by the local police who they've, been getting in trouble with. And as teens, what do we want more than anything? We do want to fit in, and we want connection like anybody else. It's, and teens' way of doing that is fitting in. And when you don't fit in, you figure out your ways that you're going to deal with things, and it's not always the healthiest. And this is where you get an even bigger disconnect, especially if you have parents who aren't a support system for you. It makes it a lot easier for that child to be sent away.
And I can speak on behalf of some, at least, including myself, people who have been sent to residential treatment centers without a drug addiction. We come out of there and we decide that the best way to numb all the memories of that is to try all the drugs, or in my case, like a lot of the drugs. I didn't try all the drugs. Luckily, I overdosed when I was 17 and had to force myself to stay alive because I was a teenage runaway and no one would take me to the hospital. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me because I wouldn't be sitting here a block and a half away from where I overdosed, talking to you all right now with Sharon. And I'm grateful for that. But I don't even think that we can begin. It'll probably take another 5 years on the 10 years of research, which Catherine's already done, to see how many of these kids we've lost to overdoses, because every survivor I talk to knows between unaliving and suicide after programs,
Post
programs,
TTI program.
unaliving and overdoses are the two main causes of death in people that have been in the programs. I just don't, again, I don't have statistics ready today because I've had a really long week today.
Not only that, I'm really going to wonder about how many of them actually exist. I wonder if statistics.
Oh,
because
that's going to be hard.
Because if you go through some of these things, I'm wondering from some of these programs, if you were to go, how many of them still do have their records from way back when? Do
Well,
they have them?
We're
Now,
about to find out.
Ivy Ridge.
Well,
I couldn't even believe this. And Plant Freak, this goes to your question, Stasia. Yes, the documentary series, which is why we decided to get on together to address this together, because Jenn handles the TTI program and I handle the sexual abuse side of things. Rabbit only knew so much, and she was only reacting just to that particular series, which dealt with one particular place. If you have not watched the series, we will not say spoil it all for you, but we will not reveal all that is revealed there. But the one thing, this place had been shut down for years, a decade, at least over a decade. The people who were researching for this series went back 4 different times to this abandoned building.
And not security or anything.
We're talking just abandoned building, and just go through the doors types of things, and found filing cabinets upon filing cabinets of these kids' records, their medical records. They found CCTV footage, which is why you have the footage that's in the series.
Of the restraining.
it was just, I mean, can you imagine just the level of callousness to just close your doors, to just be so concerned about yourself that you're just closing the doors on the institution and you are leaving everything behind. I am just that in and of itself blew me away.
It's like they were asking to get caught. It's a blessing for us, but
Right, yeah.
really, really, like they were just like dropping it and hightailing it out of there because
Mhm.
they had every other country that they had a program in, Costa Rica, Mexico, um, um, Czech Republic. Those places were all closed down so fast because those countries care about what happens to their kids. I'm sick of this country talking about how they care about the kids until they're born. Then they stop. Because if they did care about the kids, we wouldn't have so many child sexual molestations and assaults. We wouldn't have so many children killed. We wouldn't have so many children being sent away because they can't sit still or because they read things backwards or because they get like anxious and freaked out and then you send them away and destroy them. We're supposed to be making sure that our kids are all right for future generations. And from Generation X on, there's an actual percentage of us that are broken from physical, mental, verbal, emotional, sexual abuse, being ignored, neglected, sent away. What kind of coping skills are we expected to have? I mean, I know that we're strong people, but we're not superheroes. But at least now I know kind of where the idea of a superhero came from, because you got to be really, really strong to survive in this world.
Absolutely. And I feel the glimmers of hope that I feel, as someone who has a child now, who could potentially have a child of their own any day that they wanted to. Hopefully, it won't be for at least another 5 to 10 years. I'm crossing my fingers about that. But, thinking about his children, thinking about my child and how he deals with things, how he um, treats women, how he treats his friends, the hopes that I have for them, that Gen Z and the generation below are really taking their view of humanity, I think, and their concern for humanity, not just their fellow brother or their fellow sister. It's about all of them. And it it gives me some hope. There we we recognize what that kid squirming in their seat what might be happening to them. They might have ADD, they might have ADHD, but
Or anything else on the autism spectrum.
right, but it doesn't mean that we necessarily have to medicate them, because once we figured it out, we're like, oh, so what do we do about it? We give them a pill and that calms them down and then we can deal with it. Well, now I think we're finally coming into the enlightenment period and realizing that, you know what, we're all fucked up in some way. None of us came out of that press perfect. And whether it's an emotional issue, whether it's a physical issue, whether it's a learning disability, whatever it is, we've all got something. And there isn't a pill that needs to fix everything. That's big pharma. And now people are realizing that as well. And, this next 20 years, so this next generation that's coming out is really going to be it's really going to be up to them on the forefront in terms of how far this gets pushed. How far are they going to push back on big pharma? How far are they going to push back on corporations that are backing some of these things, some of these programs that we're against? We look at our nation as a whole overall, and I'm not going to talk politics, but you look at the nation as a whole overall and where we're going, the divisiveness that we have, and then you look at our world political stage. Where are things going with that? Who's going to be in power 5-10 years from now? Who's going to be driving that bus? So where is the focus going to be? Where's our focus going to be able to be? All of these things are being put on the shoulders of our children. And so for me, knowing that I maybe have that one generation left here on earth, what can I do to help the people who are still here and who are going to be coming up in the next generation? My hope is helping the people who are still here heal, and by educating everyone who's still here to make sure that the younger generations grow up with the learning the correct things, learning the right way to deal with things, learning with their eyes open, and being able to deal with things when they do happen. And replicating this type of system, utilizing our internet for good, for connection, and not just for our kids looking at some screen in front of them and doing 30-second TikToks after 30-second TikToks.
It's like when our parents would plop us down in front of the TV, right? This is their TV. Only it's an 8 to 10 second sound bites for them now.
And Jenna, I do want to get back to your comment about your brother. I've not forgotten about that. I just wanted to get this out first. And I'll tell you, you want to know how I don't,
Took that right out of my hand.
exactly. I'm sorry, you can't read that right now. You want to know how effective this has been, or how it has affected our children, not just from a mental standpoint, but from a physical standpoint.
Mhm,
You want to talk about this?
mhm.
I go to a chiropractor, and I showed him a picture of my son's 18-year-old girlfriend and her neck. That's one screwed up neck, basically, was what he had to say about it, because these were her x-rays from her chiropractor. What is that from? What's that curvature from? It's from doing this. Whether it's on your computer, whether it's on your phone. And he said, I am seeing them over time. He said, I have been seeing them younger and younger and younger over these past 10 years. He said, I will see kids now as young as 9 with neck issues. Their bones are curving the wrong way because they've been on iPads since they were 2. As soon as they learn how to play a game on a phone,
Mhm.
and they can be put and sat quietly while they're, in the grocery cart or at the doctor's office, they're on that. And they're not being taught that you need to hold something up here at eye level. There's no teaching ergonomics.
No.
So, if you have children now, please, we're not saying that these devices are evil, but from a physical standpoint, do them a favor. Get them something that they can have it to be propped up. Get them to understand the physiological detriment to them if they don't keep things at eye level. Make sure that they've got a stand for their laptop if they're sitting down, or a big cushion that they can sit it on. So that's at eye level for them. They're not going to know this. We have to teach them to that, because my son would go, God, my neck hurts. I go, wow, I can't imagine why. How many hours have you been staring at your phone today?
Another thing that I want to mention about the phone, you're going to see this if you decide to watch the program. They're now sending kids away to these TTI programs for internet addiction and telephone addiction.
Wow.
So let's celebrate the fact that Ivy Ridge didn't have a bed for Tammy.
Yeah.
I'm really happy, Tammy, that you
Because
didn't have to go there.
who's responsible for that?
Parents.
If you have an internet addiction,
Mhm.
you hopefully were birthed by parents, or at least by, you've got some guardians who are supposed to be looking out for you.
Mhm.
And that's why we have to be able to be there for our
But
kids.
this is the new, it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your kids are? That's what this is. This is the new, hey, remember you have kids? this is where the kids are,
Yeah.
you know? So it's like, yeah, we've got to fix something that generations have been ignoring.
Yeah. Well, in terms of caring for our kids,
Mhm.
right? And in terms of having a
Yes.
definite connection to our kids. And again, goes back to education. Don't have kids until you're ready to have kids. Don't have kids until
Mm.
you know what it's like to have a kid. I think every prospective couple, every prospective person should have to take care of children for a while.
Well, that's why I don't, when my sister was in high school, which would be the late 90s into 2002.
The egg?
No, they had the baby.
Oh,
They had the baby, and you could turn it off, but they could read it. They had a baby that they would take home and have to take care of.
we were in Iowa, I guess, when my brother was in high school. So
Yeah.
they just had eggs that they couldn't break.
How would anybody know that? You could just like grab an egg out of your fridge. That doesn't, that's the dumbest thing I think I've ever heard about this.
Right.
Not because I've heard a lot of dumb things, but they had the baby. I think that high schoolers should have to spend a week with one of these electronic babies that monitors how you take care of them, and it's realistic in a way that shows you, and you can't leave it with your mom or your you got to take care of that kid, take it everywhere you go, and then at the end of that course, and you get your report, then they know, like, oh, I can't take care of a kid.
And also they should have to wear the pregnancy belly, the 40-pound pregnancy belly. I
Okay, well,
think
how
that
are the boys going to get taught anything by that?
that it's hard fucking work.
We should have the boys wear it too, though.
Absolutely, 100%.
yeah.
No, I'm saying
Oh, okay.
everybody. No, they need to wear it. Absolutely. I applaud the women. I applaud the women who make their husbands wear it.
Oh, wait, here. This is the first one.
You had a baby to take home and look after.
And then it taught her this.
It taught me that I like to
I
sleep.
love you.
Absolutely, 100%. And you had to take care of an egg, but you cooked it.
Okay, that reminds
That's
me.
a parenting fail, Tammy.
That reminds me when, like, I slept over at a guy's house or whatever, and they'll
A bag of sugar. I have heard of that one as well. You had to carry around for a week. Yes.
I've had
Or flour.
I've had waking up at guys' houses or whatever when I was younger, because clearly I'm not dating right now. And they'd be like, "How do you like your eggs?" And I'd say, "Unfertilized, please."
Yes. Very much so.
Sorry, I need a joke because y'all know that I humor to get through things, and I thought I was gonna cry again, so I had to make a joke.
Yeah, well, we all try to. We're trying to lighten the mood where we can. Janet, your black belt, your Taekwondo black belt kid had an egg for a week. See, they got eggs for it. My master signed it, so no boiling or replacing. I know that they did have, you had to draw a face on it or this, that, or the other. But I don't know if they took pictures to make sure that you didn't just draw another face on a different one. But I think it was partly the honor system.
I didn't really get to do high school, so I don't know.
Yeah. And that's the other thing about TTI programs for kids who are in it for years, what they're missing out on in terms of
Education and socialization.
regular schooling, which you hope is actually getting an education. We can't say
Extracurricular
forever.
activities, dances, socializing, house parties,
Positive connection.
positive, fun, lifetime friendships, whatever
And
happens in high school, because I don't know.
And we're talking obviously on the positive side of things. Now we know that there are definitely,
Oh, yeah.
things that aren't, and there's
Is that you? That's me.
okay.
Oh, shoot. It's 4 o'clock.
She's got to go real quick. So Janet, we will address your question as soon as she gets back. I want to, if you could type just a little bit more, I want to know, you said he signed in Korean. I knew you'd say that. So yeah, yours would be a lot a lot more difficult because he certainly wouldn't want to. They're too upstanding. They wouldn't do that again. Janet says chemo fried her eggs. Yeah, and Christy's ovaries are just floating around, not connected to anything. I'm dumbfounded that you don't have that they weren't taken out. I'm assuming something happened with the disconnection there where they were just like okay with it, and it's all right that they're just floating around in there. That just seems to be a unique type of thing. Um, Jen actually has two people she knows, one family member, one really good friend of the family, who are both getting hysterectomies soon. So it's no babies all the way around. Jana, I did want you to type a little bit more in terms of, you said your brother was in a program in Canada. What do you know about that? 'Cause I'm very curious, and I know if you don't mind, I will give your contact information to Jen, because I know that she would love to speak with you and kind of compare a little bit about Canadian system versus US system. See if you see how there might be any similarities there. He broke into a convenience store, turned him in, he pled guilty, and he was sent to a program. Okay, so he was sent to a court-ordered program. Now, did he ever say anything about that? What was like he had a really horrible experience? Was it more like a boot camp type place? Because I know that there are well, in Michigan we call them SSI, and I forget what I forget what it stands for, but it's an alternative to juvie, an alternative to um, I'm not sure what else. I probably an alternative to something like a TTI program. I believe they're more of along the boot camp thing. He's terrified to go. I bet he was. Each province is different. Huh. Interesting. Well, in some ways, each state is different around here because, like we said, there is no there's no state legislation either for many of these programs, except for the ones that are court ordered. So there, of course, is no national legislation. So each of the states are different in terms of how they handle the um, individual TTIs that they have. And it's also whatever kind of follow-up that they choose to do. How much do they choose to follow their own regulations? I know in the North, in the trails one, that they were supposed to have inspections every so often. And
Every 2 years.
every 2 years, and one had been like 5 years in between and 3 years in between, and yeah, 4, and then there was supposed to have been one within a couple years at the last time, and it hadn't been done by the time this news program had come out about it. And so you've got overwhelmed states, right, where social programs have been cut and cut and cut as well.
Mental health services have also been cut.
Yeah.
Personally, what I'm hoping for is quarterly checks by the regulatory committees or whoever oversees these programs. Quarterly, not bi-yearly or every 18 months. It should be quarterly, because people are gonna they're gonna sneak in there. Bad people that want to hurt kids are gonna sneak in there, and you got to know every 3 months what's going on there
At
if you
this
really want to
point,
protect them.
yeah, but at this point, even think about what an annual would do.
Well,
That was
even
actually
just an annual
yeah,
that was thorough.
and it was followed up
Mhm.
on the second year.
Yep.
And by follow up, I mean not only following up the next year and actually doing that, but within 3 months you have to fix X, Y, and
Mhm.
Z, following up on those things. Instead, what ends up happening is one of these programs, they'll get a write up. These are the things that you need to fix, and no one ever checks back. So why fix it?
Right, because over that 9-year period from 2010 to 2019, Trails Carolina had 50 deficiencies, and every time they were the same 50 deficiencies.
No one ever checked up to make sure that they had taken care of the deficiencies.
Mhm.
So they weren't even checking up within their 2-year time frame to see.
But North Carolina, unfortunately, is also another state with a very little. I mean, the regulations that we're talking about are so minute, and they're nothing that can actually really do any good.
Tammy's. She must have done Tammy, you must have had
Oh, wrong one.
an earlier one. You were 15 in the 80s. So you're not too far behind us.
I was a teen in the 80s. Where was this?
Look back up and see if we probably missed a comment.
Oh, Tammy was supposed to go to Trails though. I know.
Yeah,
What's the? Oh, did it say the name?
we had everything
Oh.
taken away.
It was in Kitchener.
No, that's
Waterloo.
Janet.
Oh, that's Janet.
Go down one.
No, that one I saw. Okay, let me keep that up. You guys keep talking. I'm gonna try to find if she says where it was.
Okay, you said the place is still open.
If anything, you can
No,
messages.
no, that's what we're talking
It's
about.
in
The
for about 2 years. I don't think she said. Okay.
what state was this, Tammy?
She said the place is still open. Can you say the name of it? Are you okay saying the name of it?
Yeah, if not, if you could tell us what state it's in. Be interested in regards to that.
Randolph Children Academy, New York. Yes, yes. Oh my God. Or did we talk about this? If we didn't talk about this, yes, because I just read something about Randolph Academy this week.
How long were you there total, Tammy? So if you guys had missed her earlier comment, apparently Tammy had gone to this place and they kept them in hospital gowns for a couple of weeks until they felt like they didn't want to run away anymore, which you were there for 18 months. Wow.
This is a WASPs. This is a WASPs. This is a WASPs program. And it doesn't mean that WASP is still happening, but this is. All right, I'm gonna look into this, Tammy. I'm on it.
Yeah, I was gonna say Jen's got some more fodder to be looking at.
Yep.
Tammy, we see you, you're heard, and you're believed, and you're strong, stronger than the average person, because you've made it out and you're here on this side.
And I'm gonna give you our battle cry. I see you, survivor.
I think the more we go through this, and especially I think the more your channel explodes, you're going to be finding people like Tammy who say, I went through it, like Janet who said her brother was in a program.
Okay.
I mean, her brother was in a program in Canada and it was a court ordered one. So
Right.
it was, a little bit different than the
Mhm.
unstructured TTI programs that we're talking about here. But the more that we find out about this, I said, it'd be very interesting to compare and contrast some of the things that went on in Canada
Mhm.
to find out a little bit more about that. Jen and I had been talking about the in Canada about the Indigenous people
Mhm.
and how when they were brought to the schools to be indoctrinated into the local culture and to have their culture stripped away, how really in essence we're talking about a TTI program.
And those programs still exist in Canada for Indigenous children today. Izzy's already left, or she could back this up because we've discussed this too.
I thought Izzy told me the last one had just closed recently.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's fine, sweetie. That's fine.
I'm getting my lines crossed.
Yep, don't worry about it. But it's within the 2000s that the last one finally closed, and I was blown away. I had no idea because these places were started in the 40s, the 30s. I mean, we're talking a long time ago.
Well, it's been about 100 years up there.
Janet says that she can tell you all about the Canadian residential schools for the First Nations
I
kids.
would love to have a conversation with you about that, Janet, whenever, let's say after this week, whenever you're open, let's try to hook up and have a conversation.
Janet, is it okay that I give Jen your contact information? Just
If not, if you're on Discord, you can reach me there, or Facebook. If you're in our group, you can reach me there.
Yeah,
Oh,
they are. Yeah, I heard about
Yes.
this.
And they were in the States too, Sandy. You're right.
Yeah, our older boys' schools, the reform schools from the 40s and 50s and 60s, they have been unfortunately uncovering some of the graveyards of the kids who were buried, who had died on premises. One enormous one in Florida. For years, these boys, anybody who tried to speak out were silenced because no one could believe that what they were saying happening there was actually happening. I mean, because the horrors, the literal horrors that they were talking about. I, as a mom, if my son came back, I wouldn't want to believe that that was going on. I mean, that would be a really tough pill to swallow. One, your kid was sent away to a place like this, but B, that's what our educators or that's what our reformers are doing. A lot of it is ignorance, but it's willful ignorance. And that is something that's got to change on our part too. And I think that it's starting to, as the internet gets bigger and bigger, as as the 90s and the 2000s have gone along and we've been able to see the atrocities that have happened. We all know about the Holocaust. We all know about Kosovo. We all know about, some of the other major wars and things that have happened. But on these smaller scales, to think this happened in my own backyard. This happened with my uncle's brother. This happened with, people who weren't that far generationally apart from us. It's mind-boggling, but now finding out that these things are true, it's kind of like it's only a conspiracy as long as you haven't found out it's true.
Right. Okay. I wanna make a statement about Tammy's comment here
Yeah.
that she walked military style everywhere. When you watch the program, when anybody who hasn't watched the program watches the program, you will see that this where Tammy went is the same style from the same company, Wasps. They make everybody, they do edges, they walk military style, straight line. Girls can't look at boys. The girls aren't even supposed to look at each other. No communication, nothing like that. Um, I wanted to draw attention to that because Tammy makes a great point, and I also want Tammy to know that that
She wasn't the only one.
you attended a sister school of Ivy Ridge, and I'm sorry.
Sandy, you're absolutely right. This is what I was just mentioning, that the U.S. had these types of schools as well. And it's heartbreaking. It is absolutely heartbreaking. Janet said that her mother's best friend has a PhD in anthropology, and she wrote one of the first books on the residential schools called The Mush Hole. So that's for in Canada, if anybody's interested in reading that, that would be fascinating.
This is pretty disgusting, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was told as a child, more than once, not just in the troubled teen industry, but also just in family situations where police had to be involved. And I tried to stand up and I asked to press charges against my mother's abuser, and I was told that I was a kid and that I had no rights, and that if my mom if my mom cared enough about me, she would press charges against her abuser. That was the cops in the 80s. I just want to stay on that comment because it stands for all of us. It's not just TTI survivors. It's not just sexual assault survivors. It's not just abuse survivors. It's survivors.
Yes.
Everyone who is othered, this, I see you, I hear you, I believe you, is our lifeline. And now we can use the internet and all of its powers for good and not evil. We can choose to be good and we can choose to be rotten. We're choosing to be good. We're choosing to connect. we're choosing to use our voices and our traumas to save people to come. We want to end these things. So realistically, we might not be able to eradicate everything 100%, but if we draw as much of attention to it as we can possibly, then we will make a huge difference. We can be the difference we wish to see in the world finally. And I'm grateful for Sharon and everybody who has a channel that is speaking out for whatever reason, just connecting with other. Blessed to Crochet is a great channel.
My Other's Keeper has been
My
bringing
Other's
up some
Keeper.
mental health
Mhm.
issues. Atypical Paul's channel has been bringing
Atypical
up.
Paul, my goodness.
He brings up mental health issues as well. Anybody who is
Mhm.
speaking about anything to do with mental health, to do with physical violence, to do with sexual violence, to deal with neglect, trauma, just plain trauma.
Mhm.
Something that I'm going to be getting into more in the future, a deeper dive, is how childhood trauma affects our later relationships. And it's everything from our friendships to our romantic relationships. And childhood trauma, and we're not just talking about your adult relationships, how as a child it affects your childhood relationships.
And our relationships with ourselves.
That as well.
Mhm.
The one thing that has been so powerful and so palpable for both Jen and I is all of you, and all of you who have been showing up and sharing your voices with us and letting us know that, yeah, this is needed. Yes, I want to be here. Yes, I want to have a voice. And as long as we're making a difference for even one of you, we will be here. All I've ever wanted was to have somebody believe me. Needing
She
a
does.
a lot of you.
A lot of people to believe her and believe in her and her amazing abilities. We think you have a lot of special gifts, Kat DeLuca.
You as well, dude. You as well. So we know that needing a meeting is going to be starting soon.
And it's
So
important for
we-
us anyways.
so we're going to break off on our program. Normally we'll just babble on until you guys leave, basically.
Yeah.
But today we're going to end. And so it is definitely our mantra of I see you, I hear you, I believe you, for all our survivors. And for me, from Surviving Together, and from Jen, from
Between the cracks.
Together We're Surviving the Cracks. And remember, you are valuable, you are worthy, and above all, you are loved.
And if you do one kind thing for one person today, and we all do it every day, we can change the world. We love every single one of you. We appreciate every single one of you, and we will see you all soon.
Hugs and love, guys. Hugs and love.
We love you.
Bye.